Hello friends, welcome to StudyIQ. I am your friend Rahul Saigaonkar and today we are going to discuss about fertilizer sector in India. You can see the news here. Center proposes a law to control distribution price and quality of fertilizers in India. Again, this discussion is related to a proposal. That means we are going to discuss here about a draft bill which has not yet been introduced in the Parliament of India, but this bill is open to suggestions. The center has created a draft bill to basically regulate the fertilizer sector, where they will get more and more powers to control the distribution price and quality of fertilizers in India. So in this interaction, you will get to know first of all the problems of fertilizer sector in India, and then why the center is bringing this bill and what are the provisions of that bill, because it is open to criticism also. It is open to criticism, it is open to suggestion. You can also give suggestions to the government to bring certain changes in this particular bill. So let's begin our discussion. Let's start with a question. A typical question in UPSC Civil Services Mains or State PSC examination, where it is asked, is the availability of heavily subsidized urea to farmers in India the main culprit for overuse and low fertilizer efficiency in India? Discuss this particular question. And then in the second half, it asks about suggest some measures to bring efficiency in the fertilizer sector in India. So in this particular discussion, you will get a good amount of fodder to answer this first part of the question, where you will understand the typical problem in India's fertilizer sector, why urea is heavily subsidized, what is the kind of subsidy regime that we are running in India, and why this particular bill has been drafted, what was the need of this, and at the end we'll also talk about some suggestions. That would be the agenda in this particular discussion. To get to know all those things, stay with me on StudyIQ. If you're preparing for UPSC Civil Service examination or State PSC examination, do visit our website, or you can also download our app from Google Play Store, where you'll get all the information. And do not forget to use the code Rahul33, where you'll get a heavy discount of 33% on all the courses on StudyIQ, be it UPSC, Judiciary, RBI, State PSC, any exam. Just use the code Rahul33. Right, let's begin the discussion. As I told you, the center has proposed a new bill, a draft bill named Integrated Plant Nutrition Management Bill. Again, there is no date which has been mentioned here because it's a draft bill. The aim of this bill is to promote development and sustainable use of balanced fertilizers. Please note, including biofertilizers, biostimulates, nanofertilizers, organic fertilizers in a sustainable way in India. So probably this year it might be introduced in the Parliament and eventually it might get passed. Whenever it is done, we'll discuss that again. But as of now, what has happened? The government has notified this. You can see the public notice by the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, Government of India. Integrated Plant Nutrition Management Bill is open to suggestions, and within 13 days of publication of this notice you can give. So you will have a couple of days to give your input to change this particular bill, right? So it is open to suggestion. Although in the latter half of this discussion, we'll talk about the provisions of this particular bill. But before that, let us talk about what is the need of this bill. If a bill is being brought to create an integrated plant nutrition management authority, this bill aims to bring development and sustainable use of balanced fertilizers. What is the need of that, first of all? Everybody knows, even the government has acknowledged that in India there is excessive use of fertilizers. Now, this is a PIB notification from last year, February 2021. A question was raised in the Parliament where the government was asked, how much of chemical-based fertilizers are we using? What is the status of our organic farming schemes? The government gave latest information. In year 2017-18, 54.38 million tons of chemical fertilizer was used. In 2018-19, 56.21 million tons was used. In 2019-20, 59.88 million tons of chemical fertilizer was used. And in 2021, of course, that is the news for Kharif 2020, 33.85 million tons of chemical fertilizer was used. Now, this clearly shows that in India, the use of chemical fertilizers is quite extensive. What about the other things? Of course, the government has brought so many things. Now, the government has the soil health card. There is a national mission on soil health card. The government has brought the neem-based urea. They have brought the Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana. There is a lot of focus on creating compost, etc. But still, despite all these interventions, all these policies and schemes, a lot of chemical fertilizers is used. And among all these things, you'll understand in this discussion, urea is very, very prevalent in India. So what's the problem? This is the problem. Last year itself in 2021, All India Coordinated Research Project on Long-Term Fertilizer Experiments was done. Over 5 decades, the use of fertilizers was analyzed, and it was clearly indicated that in India, nitrogenous fertilizer alone has had deleterious effect on soil health and crop productivity. It has been suggested, according to the Indian Council for Agricultural Research, that the NPK, that means nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium ratio, should be 4:2:1. But in India, what is the ratio? In India, the ratio is 6:2.5:1, with a lot of wide variation across different states. We'll talk about that in some time. Now, all this is because of a flawed nutrient-based subsidy. In fact, the Comptroller and Auditor General has also slammed India's nutrient-based subsidy, which was brought in 2010. It is because of this that the subsidy towards urea is very much skewed and urea is overused. Now, what happens in this nutrient-based subsidy? See, if there is any fertilizer where there is a combination of NPK, that means nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium, there is a subsidy for each nutrient. You must have heard about different combinations, right? NPK combinations come in 30, 20, 20, whatever is the ratio or the proportion. On the basis of that, nutrient subsidy is provided by the government. But on urea as a whole, there is a combined subsidy which is very, very huge. Now let me just explain you what is the problem. Because of the nutrient based subsidy which was brought in India in 2010, there is an imbalance of NPK thanks to big urea subsidy. Just look at the numbers here. I told you that in India as of 2017-18, the figure is around 6:2.5:1 NPK ratio all over India. Now, you might think, sir, it was supposed to be 4:2:1. This is very fine. But if you look at region-wise distribution, just look at Haryana, Punjab, you'll understand it is about 22:6:1. In Punjab, 25:5:1. In Rajasthan, 34:12:1. Quite huge, right? So that's the problem. Overuse of the fertilizers is leading to crop decline. You can see the graphs here. Fertilizer subsidy is continuously increasing every day. There is a large amount of unpaid dues from the government. Indian urea is not competitive globally. All these problems have been highlighted repeatedly. All this because of nutrient based subsidy, which I told you leads to problems. Now, what are the problems? The overuse is simply because anyone can buy subsidized fertilizers. Because of this nutrient based subsidy, urea is available in very cheap quantity. For a very cheap price, for a very cheap price. Let me just give you a representative example here. Now, these are the prices from IFFCO fertilizers, including the GST, the MRP price of NPK1, where the proportion of NPK is 10, 26, 26, 10:26:26. Again, a bag of NPK1 with effect from 15/10/2021, it costs about 1440 for a 50 kg bag, right? A bag of NPK2, where the combination is 12:32:16, it costs about 1450 per 50 kg bag. The cost of nitrogen and phosphorus alone, 20:20:013, there is sulfur also in this. So 1220 rupees per 50 kg bag. Diammonium phosphate, it costs 1200 rupees per 50 kg bag. Now, these are some of the fertilizers which cost you approximately, I'd say, 1000 to 1500 rupees per 50 kg bag, half a quintal. Now, look at the number for urea. Why? Because urea is heavily subsidized in India. What happens? The price of a 45 kg bag is 266 rupees 50 paisa. Now, as a farmer, what will I go for? Now, just imagine, as a farmer, when I tell you as a farmer, now Indian farmer situation is that there is a problem of lack of awareness. Now, the problem with lack of awareness is that I do not know what my soil needs. I do not know if my soil needs nitrogen or phosphorus or potassium or sulfur. I do not know that. For that, I have to do some soil testing. And for that, I have to be aware first. Absolutely correct. Because if I am aware, I'll just go for a soil. I'll take the soil. I'll go to soil testing laboratory. I'll get my soil tested. And then I'll understand there is enough nitrogen in this. So I'll simply go for a phosphorus or a potassium based fertilizer. But that is not happening in India. Why? Urea is available for a very cheap price. The urea is available only for 266 rupees for 45 kg bag, and you simply go for more and more urea, and overuse of these fertilizers is creating a lot of problems. You can see the problems are not just with respect to bill. Of course, there is a huge subsidy bill every year. About 70 to 80,000 crore rupees goes to this fertilizer subsidies. the input cost itself rises, because if I am using more and more fertilizer, be it urea also, then my input cost as a farmer, it goes on increasing. But there are bigger problems to this fertilizer. If I'm using fertilizer indiscriminately, you saw the ratio here. Let me just show you the numbers again. For India, 6:2.5:1, the all India number. Although these numbers are from 2017-18, but they have not changed much even today. They're quite relevant even today. And state-wise, there is a lot of difference. Haryana, Punjab, Rajasthan. Now, if you go to Kerala, this number would be below 4:2:1. So there is a lot of variation among the states. Now, overuse of these fertilizers causes a lot of problems. First thing is soil degradation. The productivity of the soil itself goes down. Then there is a problem of environmental pollution. Overuse of nitrogen, it causes soil pollution, it causes water pollution. Eventually, over irrigation leads to the runoff reaching into other water bodies, creating problems there. Nitrogen eutrophication happens. Eutrophication happens when it goes into the water. Then the water body gets more and more nutrients, although it produces quickly, but again it eventually leads to algal blooms and the water body itself dies. More and more nitrogen, it also leads to many diseases like the blue baby syndrome, cancer, and so many other diseases. So a bigger threat here is environmental problem. Today urea is available cheaply, the farmers are using it extensively, it is creating huge problems, and in future it is not sustainable. That is what we need to understand. I hope by now you must have realized that why this bill has been brought. Now let's talk about this particular bill. What are the features of this draft bill? Again, after discussing this draft bill, you'll again understand that there is a problem with respect to federalism also here. Why? See, the bill first of all aims to establish an all India body, Integrated Plant Nutrition Management Authority of India, which would be responsible for promoting development and sustainable use of balanced fertilizers. They will also be promoting organic fertilizers, biofertilizers, nano fertilizers. All these things would be promoted by this particular authority. Now this authority, it aims to simplify the process of manufacturing fertilizers, distribution and price management of fertilizers across India. Basically, when I say simplify, it gives huge amount of power to the central government. The central government would be able to fix the maximum prices or the rates at which any fertilizer may be sold by a dealer, importer, manufacturer, or any fertilizer marketing entity. The bill also aims to empower center to fix different rates or different prices having different periods of storage. They can also prescribe to which consumers it can go, to which consumers it can be sold. As of now, we do understand because of the cheap price of urea, anybody can buy it. See, I can go and buy. Right? They don't even check if I'm a farmer or not. I can simply go and buy 10 bags of urea and I can sell it in the black market. Right? That can happen. And this is a problem in India. We have seen that Indian urea, the cheap subsidized Indian urea, is also found in Nepal and Bangladesh. There is a lot of black marketing and smuggling which happens because of cheap rates of urea in India. So to stop all these things, center wants to gain more and more powers. Apart from that, the bill also has a provision where the government can bar any person. It says that no person would be able to manufacture, import for sale, sell or market without obtaining a proper registration. That means no person can sell this without proper registration. It also prescribes the manner in which the fertilizers can be moved from one state to another state. So in a nutshell, basically what is happening according to this draft bill, the center wants to get more and more powers so that it can control the distribution, price and quality of the fertilizers, who can get those fertilizers. All these things would now go to the center. Now again, these are the features of the draft bill. As I told you, the center has asked for suggestions and there have been many people who have criticized or brought out the loopholes from this particular draft bill. The draft is even now open for suggestions. I would request you also to go and give your suggestions there. If you want any sort of a change, you can always give it there. And whenever this particular plant nutrition management bill is introduced in the parliament in its final stages or in its final form, whenever it is passed, we'll have a discussion again. But one criticism has come from Kerala that this particular bill will be a death knell for Kerala's mixed fertilizer units, because center is going to get more and more powers. Center is going to get complete control over the distribution, price and quality regulation of these fertilizers. So let's wait and watch what will happen. one thing is for sure that there are fertilizer sector reforms needed in India. But is this draft bill or the integrated plant nutrition management bill, is it the way to go ahead? That's the question. And that is why the suggestions are asked from the public, suggestions are asked from the academicians, researchers. Within 30 days, suggestions have to be given, and then a final bill would be prepared, which will be introduced in the parliament later in this particular year. Whenever it is done, we'll discuss that again. But that is it right now in this particular discussion. I hope you have got enough fodder to answer the question with which we had begun our discussion. Thank you for watching this. Jai Hind.